Okay, so it's time for the Sinnoh journey. So let's begin. For starters, Ash will be heading over to Johto a bit later than in the original timeline, so he will not be meeting Dawn. He also will not be catching Starly due to not having a Pokemon to battle. Since, he doesn't have a palm in this timeline. And last, this will not be when we get introduced to Paul. Ash is still relatively close to the Kanto timeline, so don't worry, he will still be meeting Paul. It will just be a tad bit later. Okay, so now let's get on to what does happen. Due to Dawn not finding Pikachu, Pikachu is lost for quite a bit longer than in canon and wandering on its own. And this is when we will get a encounter that doesn't happen until much later in the anime. As out of the ground is gonna come a vicious monster that nibbles on Pikachu's head. That's right, Gibble. Pikachu will meet a Gibble. This is the same Gibble as in canon that loves biting Ash's head and struggles with Draco Meteor. Now, Pikachu will help Gibble with Draco Meteor, but it won't be enough for Gibble to master it or get even close, but it does help with gathering the energy as Gibble learns from Thunderbolt. And in exchange, Gibble will help Pikachu find Ash. And this does work, as the two eventually come across Ash, who is also searching, and Gibble is going to bite Ash's head, just like in canon. Gibble is going to become Ash's first catch. Essentially, whenever Ash uses Starly in the original timeline, it's going to be this land shark he uses instead. Due to the time searching for Pikachu, Ash is not going to be meeting Tortwig. So, yeah. But then Ash is going to encounter Paul for the first time, and there's not a universe where meeting Paul and watching how he treats his Pokemon does not anger Ash. Especially as this encounter is going to be Paul's performance at the gym. Now, you do need 3 Pokemon for this gym, but in the Pokemon anime, they seem to take into thought the amount of Pokemon that a trainer has. So, this is going to be a 2-on-2. And with Ash's team of Pikachu and Gibble, Gibble will be able to take out Onix, Pikachu and Gibble will be able to get the Cranidos low enough to take out. So Ash will be getting this badge. Now, in the anime, Ash gets his Breezel because May fishes it up. Not May, Dawn, what am I saying? But Dawn's not here to fish it up. Now, it's likely that Dawn still heard about the aggressive water type and went fishing, so Dawn probably does have Breezel in her team. So, there's no way Ash is getting Breezel. Sorry, Ash. Then we have the grass type gym. Well, Little Gabble's typing makes it weak to grass type. This guy's very good at biting, and Draco Meteor is still very powerful and dangerous. So it's going to be able to catch Turtwig with a well-timed bite and Draco Meteor immediately. And that will be enough to weaken it, but Gabble's still gonna fall. So Pikachu comes out, and Pikachu's going to be able to quickly take it out with a quick attack, and Ash is going to be winning that badge. Then, just like in canon, we see Paul get beat up by Cynthia. Most of the events are still going the same. The main difference is Ash has a lot less Pokemon. And then Ash is going to run into Gary. And as Gibble's still learning with Draco Meteor, Gary is going to give Ash some advice for working with the land shark. As well, yes, Ash is a stronger battler than Gary. Gary is much better at raising Pokemon than Ash. Then we have the tag team stuff. Ash still hates Paul, and these two still are going to be arguing and not getting along, but the battles are still going to go the same, although Gibble is replacing Turtwig. And in the end, Paul's still going to be disappointed in Chimchar's abilities to battle. Ash is gonna get Chimchar. And then we have the whole episode about Chimchar's problems because of the abuse that it went through with Paul. Ash is still going to get his Gligar. But Ash used some Pokemon back during the Frontier battles, and Ash is not restricting himself to just these Pokemon, especially after acknowledging how other Pokemon help each other grow. And something interesting has happened at the lab that Ash witnessed the first part of, which was essentially Houndoom taking on after what he learned from Misty's Quagsire to get all of the Pokemon training with each other. And with all of this stuff, Ash feels like it would be reasonable to withdraw Pokemon from the lab for training purposes. So he withdraws two. The first one being Noctowl, who works with Gligar on its flying. The second one being Gally, who works with the land shark to master Draco Meteor, as it also had trouble with Ice Beam. And then we get the next gym battle. This one is going to go quick, as it mostly just stands to show how well the little ground flying type has learned flying stuff from Noibat, and then Chimchar will go as normal, and Pikachu will finish off Lucario. Now, Ash is going to once again try out his Pokemon, but this time he is going to be more focused on Chimchar. So the first Pokemon he sends out is Scyther? Sceptile. That's the name. And Houndoom. This is due to Scyther. Why do I keep wanting to call it the Sceptile Scyther? This is due to Sceptile's overgrowth ability and Houndoom's typing, as Ash theorizes that they will have the best chance of helping Chimchar master its unique blaze ability. This does make slow progress, but it isn't until a few events later where after Ash once again battles Paul and Chimchar goes crazy that the two Pokemon really seem to decide what to do. And the answer, it appears, is meditate. Now, there's a simple reason for this, as they took note of Chimchar going out of control. So this is not just a problem with accessing the ability, this is a problem with control. And meditating, thinking things over, and stuff does seem to help the mind. So Chimchar does do some meditating with these two, and Ash joins them. This is going to cause another event that is very different from canon to unfold, as Ash has unique aura, and I'm not going to be forgetting about that. But because of his meditating, he is going to sense something, and so he's going to run off with his Pokemon behind him. But as he gets closer, he finds it harder to focus. Fortunately, this is when Houndoom comes in, as Houndoom seemingly can smell what Ash sensed. So Houndoom then takes the lead, and they find an egg. So Ash now has an egg. Anyways, we are going to go to the next gym, which again is going to be very different. Pikachu will take on Gyarados, winning that match. Then out comes Quagsire, who goes against Gible, who will be able to land several moves, but in the end won't be able to take out the water type. This really isn't a good matchup for Ash, as he's trying not to rely on his old Pokemon, using them simply for training purposes, and Pikachu's the only Pokemon that has a good typing for this gym. But despite that, he does send out his next Pokemon, Gligar, who finally takes care of the Quagsire. Then Pikachu deals with the Floatzel, and so Ash wins his 4th gym badge. Then we have the episode where Gligar struggles with its fear of flying and stuff. So Ash is going to bring 2 Pokemon, once again the flying type Swallow to work with its flying, but he's also going to be bringing back his giant crab, because both Pokemon has pincers and he figured the crab can help. So in the end, the result is still going to be the same. Gligar does evolve to, but it's going to be a better flyer than in canon. We have the next gym. We're gonna have the first matchup be Gengar versus Gliscor, which ends with Gliscor winning. Then Miss Magius versus Chimchar. Chimchar wins. Then Ash will bring back Gliscor, and then Chimchar as well to beat the balloon, but in the end, Pikachu will be the one to defeat it. That's another gym badge. We can just jump straight into the next gym, as nothing of note happens between these two, and this does go a lot in like canon, although Breezel is replaced with Gabite. And in the end, Ash does win this gym. Then we will have the events where Ash meets an Aura Guardian, and this once again will have Ash be noted for his unique aura. But things are going to be a bit different, as Ash and Chimchar have both spent more time meditating than in canon, as Chimchar feels it really does help. And so Ash is going to try to help Lucario with sensing everything with its aura. And with this amount of concentration on his aura, this will actually result in the egg reacting and hatching into a Riolu. Now, Ash was offered to train as an Aura Guardian, but he declined for his gym challenge. But here, Riolu really does try to push Ash to accept, as Riolu really wants to understand, and Ash still isn't going to accept, as he feels he has a different path, but he does acknowledge the good that the abilities of Aura will do, and does spend a short 2 days training. And Brock does talk to Riley, and they do get a list of different things Ash can do with Riolu to train. So that's going to be happening in the background. With the Metatating, it's mostly just taking the Metatating to the next step and trying to summon Aura and find Riolu among the other Pokemon with his eyes closed using Aura. Anyways, next we have the flying competition, but Ash doesn't have his normal flyer, so this is going to be a development episode for Gligar, with the ground flying type finally becoming proficient at flying. Next, we are going to have the episode with the Lonely Shovel, but this is going to be different, as we're going to give Ash this little guy. Now, there's a reason for this, a very logical reason. It was the only way to give him a full team. Anyways, on to the gym battle. Ash is going to immediately use his newest catch, who knows the moves. Grass Knot, Icy Wind, and the 2 moves, Light Screen and Headbutt. And going against Sneasler, this is going to be a double knockout just barely. Then, when out comes the fighting psychic type, Ash will send out Riolu, and again, there has been some training in the background. So Riolu does have skills. This, though, will be the first time we see Riolu's moves, which are Indoor, Quick Attack, Aura Sphere. And so it will be a bit of a tough battle for Riolu, and in the end, Riolu is taken out. So Ash sends out his Gliscor, who takes out that Pokemon. Then out comes a Pokemon we did not see in the normal gym battle, the Ghost Ice evolution of Snorunt, Frostglass, which will take out Gligar, and out comes Chimchar to save the day and beat the Frostglass and the Abomasnow. Now, this is partly due to, for a little bit at the end, Blaze being in use, but Chimchar does manage to get control over it after a few seconds, and so this ends with, for the first time after using Blaze, Chimchar not going crazy, but it does take all of Chimchar's energy, and the Pokemon falls shortly after. Then we get Paul versus Brandon, and we get the whole Brandon episode, and in this, Ash will be using Gible quite a bit, and this will lead to the little land shark evolving. Okay, so that X is for something later on, but it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing, but that's okay. Our first battle in the Ash versus Paul will be Paul's starter versus Riolu, but Ash quickly recalls Riolu and sends out Gligar. This results in the same as in the anime, so he will send out Gabite. Usually he sends out Staraptor, and Paul had a plan for this. Paul does still have a plan for Gabite, but it doesn't go as well as Paul had hoped due to the Land Shark being, well, a pseudo-legendary for one. And so this matchup does go poorly for Paul, forcing him to send out his next Pokemon, Weavile. And the Land Shark does not want to return, as the Land Shark is not interested in playing the game of swapping in and out for type matchups and stuff. So it's just going to go for it, and Ash will let it. This does end in the Land Shark winning. Gabite is very weak though, and soon collapses. Then we get Electrobuzz versus Snorunt. Snorunt? Not Snorunt. And Ash does put up a light screen here. And then Paul will returns and send out Honchkrow, who will be taking out the Grass Ice type. Out comes Pikachu to battle Magmortar, then Gliscor to battle and then out comes the bear, who does get poisoned and does go on a rampage with Ash, even though he is well beyond exhausted, calling on Gabite once more. And Gabite does put in quite a bit of work, mostly due to the fact that a close-up Draco Meteor is not something that the bear wanted to eat. But it still ends with Chimchar going up against the bear, and this will end much like in the anime with Chimchar winning and evolving. But Chimchar still loses, so what does it matter? Actually, it matters a lot. Ash did much better than in canon, so Ash is not going to be as sad. Now, there is a battle against an Elite Four where Ash uses his Grass type. He's still going to be using his Grass type, although his Grass type is a bit different. Then the whole Team Galactic stuff will go down. And then Ash sends his Gligar for training on flying. But if you remember, we had the development episode a while back. We had multiple development episodes on this, so there's no need. I mean, he did master in the flying type contest. Then we will get Infernape. Congrats with that evolution. The second battle against an Elite Four, which will end just like in normal. Then we have another battle where Ash will be using his Grass type, but his Grass type is very different than from anime. But in this battle, Abomasnow evolves. So congrats on your Abomasnow, Ash. Then he will be winning the final badge, just like in canon. And so we can go on to the league where he will be calling a few Pokemon back, although many of the faces he uses in this league he no longer has, but that's a-okay. And then we get Ash's battle against Paul. The first round, Pikachu versus Arglon, will go the same, with Inferno coming in later to take it out. Then, again, Staraptor will be replaced by Gabite. And Ash will also be using Riolu, mostly in place of Breezel, which means Riolu is the one to fall for the trap and get beat by this poison bug. Actually, it's a poison dark type. They should have kept it bug. Anyways, just my issue. And again, Gliscor is immune to poison though, so unlike Staraptor, it does not get poison, and that does not have nearly as much consequence. Gabite is also going to battle this thing. This bug literally took on most of Ash's team. And then we are going to have the battle against the Ninjask with Gliscor doing its best and then being returned for Infernape. Pikachu versus Frostglass goes much like in canon. Then we will have the last round, Infernape versus the not Electro, but yeah. And so Ash will be moving on, and in case you remember, this next battle is awful. But don't worry, Ash will be doing much better than in canon, due to not having half of the Pokemon he used in canon. With his first choice against Darkrai being Houndoom. And this is going to go much better than in canon, as Houndoom is immune to Psychic type moves, and most of the moves, all of the moves actually, Darkrai has are not super effective against the Fire Dog, but the Fire Dog's still losing. But Ash then is able to send out Sceptile, and the Fire Dog was able to do enough damage for Sceptile to take out Darkrai, though Sceptile is tired. And so the next round goes much like in canon, with Pikachu being the one to defeat the second legendary this guy's pulling out in a double knockout. So congrats, Ash, you have taken out 2 of his Pokemon. It only cost it 4 of yours. And he has Darkrai, so why not give him Darkrai's sister Pokemon? And this battle is going to go poorly for Ash, as his first Dark type loses. Sorry, buddy. But his second Dark type, Crabaro, does win. And so, yeah, I gave him the Red Jet. It only makes sense. Ash has lost. But the battle lasted a bit longer than in canon. Congrats, Ash. And so, that will be the end of Ash's Sinnoh journey.